Hey, what's up guys? This is my first attempt at doing a hard randomized Nuzlocke on Pokemon R.O.W.E, and I'm also going to be telling childhood stories at the same time, so I hope you enjoy it. Okay, we're going to get right into it. All I know about this game is that it's an open world Pokemon Emerald, and I'm definitely excited to try it out considering Gen 3 is like my favorite generation. My first Pokemon game ever was R.O.W.E, and so I definitely immediately started to love Gen 3, and I also think design-wise, the Gen 3 starters are the best 3 out of every generation. I'm just going to finish this character up, and then I'm going to make sure we set our difficulty to hard, and then also make sure it's randomized, and finally we are going to put on perfect IVs. That way I have a little bit more of a chance considering I'm gonna be increasing the difficulty. I'm gonna tell one of my most traumatizing childhood stories. Some of you already know the first story that I'm about to share, which is the Seagull story. It was a Sunday and I was visiting with my dad who was living with my grandma. And so my dad takes me to Taco Bell and we get there and just completely go wild. I did what I regularly would at the age of 13 and just ate as many tacos as I possibly could. Fomantis as the starter? Okay, we can work with that. Now this started as a particularly good day because we got Taco Bell and then on the way back we listened to Metallica while he smoked his second pack out of the 4 packs of cigarettes he was smoking that day. Now the cigarette smoke really didn't bother me too bad at that point because I would try to sneak off and do smoke tricks with my friends at that age anyways. And I'm just gonna be looking for my first encounter here guys while I go through the story, but we're just gonna be checking around and I'm gonna pick these berries while I'm at it. We get back to my grandma's house and it was a pretty nice day and it was also during the summer. And so one thing I always loved doing is fishing off of this trestle that was near my grandma's neighborhood. Now the trestle bridge is basically a train track that goes over the ocean. And at the end of the trestle, there was this little ledge that you could fish from and it was one of the best places to catch mackerel. I was in a really good mood and so I decided to ask my dad if he wanted to follow me to the trestle bridge and so I can go fishing and just kind of hang out there. My dad of course said yes, and so we left my grandma's house and headed to the train track so we could get over to the trestle fishing spot. As I was walking over, I noticed that at the very end of the trestle, at the fishing spot, there was already about 4 or 5 people. And this wasn't just anybody, these were like friends from the neighborhood, a few people I had met in the past, and they were all fishing out there. And so I thought to myself, hey, I'm gonna bring my dad over, introduce them, and just kind of fish. We get to the end of the train tracks and then we start walking on the actual trestle. And now the trestle is about 30 feet above the ocean level, and so you can see in between these 1.5 foot gaps in between these wooden beams. And if you weren't careful, you technically could like jump in between the beams and go right into the ocean, but you definitely don't want to do that with all your fishing gear. My dad and I walk about 40 yards or so, and we're deep out in the ocean. I introduced my friends to my dad, and now these were friends, but they weren't like very close. They were just kind of acquaintances in a way. And I definitely wanted to appear cool while growing up. So it was important to me that my dad had a very good first impression. And it was a good impression at first. My dad was sharing fishing tips and I wasn't exactly catching anything, but you know, I was having fun either way. That's when all of a sudden everything started taking a turn for the worse. After about 10-15 minutes of fishing, my dad started to kind of rock. You know, he started to sway his body left and right. And I was kind of like, what the hell are you doing? Because my friends could also see this out of their peripheral view. And so, you know, I wanted to appear as normal as I possibly could. When I looked at him to see what was wrong, I noticed that his face was beet red and that he was sweating profusely. I go up to him and try to discreetly ask him, "Dad, what's wrong?" He looked me dead in the eye and he said, "Jake, I gotta shit." I didn't think much about it at first. I kind of shrugged it off and said, 5 more minutes. And then he just shook his head no and began walking back up the trestle. And now you can't just walk back. You have to get down onto a platform to fish. And so he had to get up the platform first. Okay, I'm so into this story that this is gonna be a loss. Yep, okay. All right, we're gonna reset. There we go. We're back at it, and we're gonna choose a new town. Back to the story. I try to help my dad hoist himself up back onto the trestle, and that way he can go back to my grandma's house and, you know, lay a mud monkey. He walks 15 feet across the trestle, about 20 feet away from my friends, and he does the most horrific thing I've ever experienced ever. What my dad did next was his best Seagull impression. He dropped trowel, then positioned himself right over one of the 1.5 foot gaps along the trestle. While I stood next to the neighborhood kids in horror and astonishment, a sound I had never heard started to come out of my father's body. It was like a wet firecrackery sound, and it went on for about 5 to 10 seconds while my father generously fed the mackerel patiently waiting underneath. My new starter is Stantler, by the way, but back to the story. So the mackerel at least got to eat Taco Bell that day. However, I climbed back up that trestle and I just started walking away. The neighborhood kids I was fishing with were definitely shocked as well. And I think that was probably one of my more embarrassing moments. And guys, we're gonna try to catch our first encounter, Poplio here. We went back to my grandma's house and I could definitely feel the embarrassment on my neck. Like it just felt like a heat on my neck as I walked away from that group. And I think I hid in my grandma's house until I went back to my mom's later that afternoon. And that is the Seagull story. I hope you enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it considering we just caught Poplio at the same time here. I'm just going to go ahead and give Poplio a random name. We're not doing a theme today, so I guess we're just going to go with like Pop Smoke. My dad definitely taught me how to have a pretty good sense of humor. I mean, I have a lot of moments with him that I can look back and just kind of laugh at, and honestly, some of them are pretty interesting. Now, since this is my first playthrough on Pokemon R.O.W.E, it's definitely going to be kind of tough figuring out which way I should go, considering that the game is randomized here. I can go to any gym I want, it's full free roam, and so I kind of have to base it off of my starter maybe. Right now I am rocking with Stantler, so I need to try to go to a gym that I'll be strong against. Now we should be able to finish off this Swablu pretty easily. We're just going to spam tackle here and hopefully get some good XP for our starter. This game has been fairly tough so far, but I wouldn't say it's as tough as Emerald Kaizo or even Radical Red. I'm still kind of learning it. As I said, I've only done 2 attempts now. This is my second. I attempted Radical Red about 25 times or so, and then Pokemon Emerald Kaizo, I attempted probably about 20. And so those were definitely really, really tough, and I would categorize those as being in the like roll the dice Nuzlocks. Basically, everything is more reliant on chance rather than using strategy. Like, you have to know all the movesets and you have to know what's coming next. Hopefully this game will be a happy medium so we can actually go through and beat this Nuzlocke. The only hacked Pokemon game Nuzlocke that I've beaten is Pokemon Crystal Clear. Stantler's getting a little low here. I definitely should have healed. Did not mean to make such a boneheaded mistake. We cannot escape. So yes, the tackle gets through the Joltik. Okay, I think we survived this, but that was close. Oh wait, there is one more Pokemon. Oh yeah, I definitely do not like this at all. We'll see what happens here. It's definitely possible that we can clutch, but I do think this might get a little bit sketchy. Oh yeah, it's defense curling. Yeah, this is rough. It looks like we are gonna take the L here. Maybe even right here. Oh, okay. We survive one. Yeah, nothing I can do. We're gonna go ahead and take our L. And then this is gonna be the end of our second attempt. I'm gonna go ahead and make a video for the third attempt. But I do want to thank you guys for hopping in and checking it out. As you guys can see, Pop Smoke is not gonna be able to hang it all with the rollout. So it looks like that's GG's. And that's going to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll be back with the next one. Please like, share, and comment.